We've been gathering stories from some of the folks that were around since the beginning of Dairy Business Association back 25 years ago. Welcome to the KI Center, downtown Green Bay, where it's Dairy Strong 2025, a great gathering spot for agribusiness as well as those partners that were involved from the very beginning. Greg Steele is one of those that was part of the early conversations at Dairy Business Association. You've been involved in agriculture your whole career. So if you can, tell people what it was like as dairy business was coming together as an idea. What we had farm organizations, we had associations, we had trade show meetings. What did you sense either was missing, or why did dairy business become even an idea?
Sure. Well, Pam, in the 1990s, when there was change going on in the industry, adoption of freestall barns, parlors, horizontal feed storage, there was a transformation going on in the industry. And the innovators jumped on that transformation, and they were hitting obstacles from others in the industry, from the community, from state agencies. And they felt that it's interesting because they were innovators themselves, and they used that innovation to create an organization that would give them a pathway to make dairy expansion and growth acceptable to the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And so they worked on changing the landscape, created an organization that was farmer-led. Again, they were innovative. Nobody was taking on the difficult issue of representing permitted dairies at the state level. So they got labeled as a CAFO organization, and they were quite proud of it. And not in a bad way, but because they really believed the state of Wisconsin needed to be able to remain competitive, retool their production industry, and retool the psyche of the industry. And they really energized the industry by creating the Dairy Business Association. And the other innovative thing they did, Pam, was they reached out to corporate and allied industry. And I'm being an example of one of those. I was working for AgStar Financial at the time, and was asked by one of my clients, who was one of the founders, to write a check. And I am quite frank, I'm really thankful to our organization for saying, hey, when I went to them, said, this organization is a fledgling organization. They're trying to provide some grassroots changes and be involved in policy discussions. And we wrote a check, and and they went to other industries, the nutrition industry, and I can name them off if you like, but the supply industry, the building industry. So it was a real outreach and a collaboration of farmer-led and industry expertise kind of coming together.
Well, and like you said, Greg, again, Greg Steele along with us, and I remember that time because it wasn't real comfortable. It was almost a dividing line at that time, where you either liked the little red barn and we started coming up with cliche phrases. Were you ever at all anxious about being in that arena of conversation, because it was a little rough then for a minute? Yeah,
that's a good point. Because it was at sometimes farm against farm, and that was uncomfortable. And then from a business standpoint, the cliche is size neutral, which again, I still believe that there's a place for everybody in the industry, as long as they have an economic return to their business. There are certainly opportunities for them. But yes, I think the polarization at the local level, and then of course you have folks that moved into the country, and all of a sudden there's a manure lagoon in their neighborhood, and there's manure being spread on the weekend of their college graduation or whatever it might be. But it took the industry a while to learn too, that they had to figure out how to cohabitate. Is that the right word? With the community, give them a heads up, avoid doing things that might be offensive on weekends of class reunions or family reunions or whatever it would be. So.
Yeah. Greg Steele's along with us. I'm moving you this way a little bit. So the other part about Dairy Business Association is they weren't just talking dairy producer to dairy producer to allied industry. They wanted you to make a trip to Madison. They wanted you to make a trip to town meetings and help them understand this new growth. Did you get involved in those conversations? What was it like to carry that message with the association to elected officials, agencies?
Oh, that's a really good point, Pam. Yeah, there's obviously local township meetings that were held to where public comment was provided regarding a growth project, an expansion project. There was the need to be at Egg House Committee, Agriculture Committee. I think Al was the head of that, and provide testimony in regards on behalf of why certain legislation was needed. And one of the things that came out of that totally energized the industry, not only the end result, but the process of going through it, was the siting legislation. That was a very important milestone for DBA as an organization and the industry at that point in time, that there was now almost an acceptance that growth is okay. We're retooling our industry, and we're going to be competitive, and we're here to stay.
Right. Now, marking 25 years is fantastic. A business, a marriage, whatever it is, that's great. Now, and Greg was teasing about he's retired. He's still at the conference working, so keep that in mind. You can't get rid of this. It's in your blood. So what are you hoping that, I understand you'll take your step back, but you also are probably open to counsel if they ask. Where do they have to go next? What do you see as the next gradient of conversations that have to happen, the next set of challenges? Because we've got a lot of young people here at Dairy Business Association that are thinking about, Mom and Dad are going to retire. I need to figure out what's next. How are you, what are you hoping that they find? What are you hoping that they channel their energies toward?
Yeah, well, I think the organization, I brought it up before, two words come to mind: transformation and innovation. And as long as DBA keeps those as priorities, that they're a farmer-led, kind of industry-supported organization that wants to have more than a seat at a table, but be transformative through innovation of ideas, of practices, of policies, of products. The biggest thing that's changed from 25 years ago, the consumer is such a much bigger priority and needs to be in the consideration of the various policy things that they road that they go down, and operationally as well, in regards to standards. And I'm not trying to take a position one way or the other.
No.
It's just they have to be conscious of it.
Yeah, you're right. Always work to be done. Isn't that the case, Greg?
That is.
It's always been that way.
That is.
Greg Steele along with us again, like we said. One of the people that was there at the very beginning before Dairy Business Association was Dairy Business Association. Like I said, he's still right here paying attention to the growth and innovation that we're experiencing. At Dairy Strong 2025, celebrating 25 years with the Dairy Business Association, along with Greg Steele. I'm Pam Yankee.